Alrighty. In this next video, I'll be showing you some of my favorite EDC knives. EDC stands for Everyday Carry, for those of you that don't know. And I guess I should kind of let you know what I would look for in picking out my favorite EDC knife. A lot of these knives I pick because I like the look of them. You know, I'm being honest, and a lot of people will pick a knife just on that. However, beyond that, there's a lot of things that go into picking a knife, at least for me. I think about not only the maker, but kind of the construction, the steel, a lot of different things. I guess it boils down to one thing that you need to ask yourself about that knife. Would you trust your life to that knife? Because that's what it might come down to. That's what you need to ask yourself when you pick a knife up and say, I would like to have this as my EDC knife. If the answer is no, or if you're not sure, you might need to do some more research on that knife, or maybe look at YouTube, see what other people say about it. There's a lot of guys on YouTube that specialize in just destroying the knives, or testing them to their limit. You're not going to see a lot of that in my videos because I'm too poor to do that. I'll be honest with you. And honestly, if I have a knife, I'm not going to want to destroy it or test it to that point, probably. You will see me do some of those, but that's a little later on. For example, the cold steel knife. This one, it had a comfortable handle, but handle comfort wasn't what made me pick it. In fact, I only bought it because it was a good deal. It was $39.99 on closeout sale at Smoky Mountain Knife Works. Now, cold steel makes a good knife. This was a decent looking knife. I thought it kind of looked goofy at first because it had a little short blade, big old long handle with this funny angles in it. But I bought it. I decided I was going to carry it for a little while, give it a fair chance, and see what it's like. And more than likely, I thought I'm just going to put it in the knife closet, so to speak. Stash it somewhere in a drawer, make it a kind of an extra knife if somebody needs a knife, or to trade it to somebody, or as a loaner. I'm sure you all know, or have some knives like that in case, some people need knives, or your buddy needs a knife. And I ended up liking it more and more. I ended up actually just loving the knife. I carried it for about 2 years, every single day of my life. And it's a beautiful knife. I've grown to think it's beautiful. Beauty is as beauty does to me. Beauty is completely tied to function for me, for the most part. The blade is AUS-8 stainless steel, which a lot of you complain that cold steel doesn't use some of the higher quality stainless steels. Personally, I think there's nothing wrong with AUS-8 at all. I like a medium carbon steel, medium as in 0.6 to about 0.75, maybe 0.8. I don't think you need a steel with more carbon than that. After that, you start just getting mainly, carbides and hard to sharpen. It'll hold an edge longer, yeah, but it's going to be at the expense of toughness and at the expense of sharpening ease. AUS-8 is a good Japanese stainless steel. There's a reason that cold steel uses it. If cold steel thought that they could make a better knife and more money at it using, say, S30V or S30VN, they would definitely use it. I don't think money's that much of an option, really, for factories like that. It's a very easy to sharpen stainless steel compared to other ones. And it takes a completely wicked razor edge. This is one of the better steels out there, I think, personally. It takes a wicked edge. It's a Japanese steel, and what I found out in a lot of Japanese steels is they're a lot more pure than some of the Western, American, European, whatever steels. So are Swedish. So that's something to think about. You don't need maybe the top of the line edge holding for something if you're going to use it every day. It's going to get dull eventually. Why have something that's going to sharpen, that's going to take you an hour to sharpen, or if you got a diamond stone, half an hour to sharpen and a lot of cussing. You're probably not going to notice the difference versus something like S30V if you use it every day. It becomes such a small factor and such a small difference in performance when you start to really use the knives that eventually, you start to favor the ease of sharpening. I'm not saying that AUS-8 doesn't hold an edge. It holds an edge darn good, but it's easier to sharpen, and it doesn't hold an edge maybe as long as something like S30V. Also, I guess, speaking about the looks of knives, this is the Almar Sear 2000. This is one of the first knives that I completely fell in love with on the basis of looks. Originally, I liked the Almar Sear folders from the 80s, and I liked them ever since I saw them. I didn't have a chance to buy one. They were way too expensive for a kid like me back then. But I always remembered what they looked like, and I remembered liking them a lot. And whenever the Sear 2000 came out, I ended up buying it. It looks almost exactly the same. It's a little bit more EDC friendly size. The steel is upgraded. The handle material has been upgraded to G10 versus my card. It's a lot lighter. The original large Almar Sear folder, I think, was 6 inches closed and weighed about 12 ounces. Folks, that's as much as a small beverage can. That's a lot. That's a heavy duty knife, and it had brass liners. This one's got stainless steel liners and a pocket clip. So this is one of the few knives that I picked on solely the basis of looks and fell in love with it because it also has function. I'm not sure how strong that lock is, but there's an article in Tactical Knives that I read several years ago, I think by James Ayers, that he took a survival class out in the woods with some of the students, and they really tested the knives. I think batoning through wood was one of the tasks that he put them through, and this one was one of the knives that was tested, and he said that all of them passed with flying colors. So if this one passes batoning through, fairly thick wood, then it's pretty strong. The blade is not AUSA, it's a VG10. I don't have a lot of experience with that steel, but I read a lot of the knife magazines, and there's certain, writers that I tend to favor, I guess, that are my favorites, and I tend to take their word for a lot of things because they have experience, and I've not found them to lie about it. I don't think they have reason to lie, especially in this day of the internet and all the media. If they find out that they're lying, they're going to spread it all over the internet, all over YouTube, and it's going to make a big deal, and it's going to diminish their credibility a lot, and it's going to hit their bottom line. So they have really no reason to lie about it. But I guess getting to the point, Jeff Randall, I believe, he runs a lot of the trips down to South America, does a lot of testing with knives. He had an article a few years ago, not too long ago, on VG10 stainless steel and why he likes it. It's a very chip-resistant steel. I remember he said that also. I read that myself a few years ago about VG10. He said it holds an edge well. It's fairly easy to sharpen. It's very, very corrosion resistant. Basically, he said there's nothing that he doesn't like about it. So if he says that about VG10, I'll take his word for it. Whenever I get a little bit more money, I'm sure I'll get another one of these and I'll put it through my test. But him taking the VG10 blades down to the jungle, I believe he took a SOG, one of the Pentagon Elites, one of the mini Pentagon Elites, the new ones, in VG10 stainless, and he put it through its paces down there. And the article with James Ayers, him batoning the knife through firewood, it's a pretty severe test, I believe. So maybe someday I'll get into a test with this one, but for right now, I think it's just gonna sit in its box. All right, the last one. This one I bought on the basis of its function. I thought this one was going to be basically the one to eclipse all the other, EDC carry knife. It's going to be, the perfect EDC carry knife. That's how it was advertised and hailed as, and it came with a price to match, of course. We're only human. We tend to believe advertising, I guess. It's just a natural fact of humanity. If commercials and advertising didn't work, they wouldn't be around. And the company's reputable, DPX Gear. Robert Young Pelton designed it. He knows his stuff. He's been a correspondent, writer. He's been in some more hairy places than most civilians will ever even think of. He's been in Afghanistan. He's been in, I think, with some CIA. He's been with special forces. He's been embedded in a lot of combat places. So he knows his stuff, and he designed this as a kind of a compact, everyday, carry with you everywhere folding knife to carry, or basically where his sheath hest maybe wouldn't be allowed or proper, or if you're not wanting to carry something that big, but that's not really that big. So I guess that's kind of a little bit about the criteria of EDC knives and what you should look for in EDC knife. Not only look for comfort in the handle, how it's going to feel after 2 or 3 hours of cutting something, and I don't mean just like paper, I mean cutting like hickory wood or something hard. Be sure that when you get the knife, if you do end up getting it, use it. Don't just let it sit somewhere. Don't let it surprise you when it comes time to use it. This one I was rather, I guess, surprised by in a bad way after I watched Not Fancy's video on the Hest folder. He tested it batoning through firewood, and I guess it pretty much failed miserably. The blade loosened up, and a little bit of that is due because titanium isn't as hard as steel, and when you're batoning, you're forcing that blade straight back into the titanium lock bar. Well, granted, whatever's softer is going to deform quicker, but still, with all that advertising and hype, it should have held up. Maybe there's a couple of versions of, maybe even this knife, newer versions, they have a stainless steel little how do I explain it? It's a little tiny screw-on piece on the lock, kind of like a shoe, made of stainless steel, and it's kind of a wear plate. It takes the wear between the blade and the titanium lock. Since stainless steel is harder than titanium, and stainless steel on stainless steel is going to wear a lot slower than titanium on stainless steel. This one doesn't have that, but they should have thought of it. But anyway, I can't be too hard for them. I mean, I can't be too hard on them. Most people aren't going to baton with it. I probably would never baton with it, but you might. If your life's on the line, who knows what you're going to have to do. Well, I guess that's some of the things that you should look for in EDC knives. hopefully you'll like the video. Thank you for watching. This is Mr. RugerCat 45, and you all have a good day.